8,500 miles across the country and back I've spent on what might be the most popular budget-friendly adventure tire on the market, the Tusk D Sport tire. In the video here, we're going to discuss if this is truly a hidden gem or you're simply just getting what you pay for. We're going to talk about the on-road performance, wet and dry, off-road performance, the wear patterns, and would I purchase them again. So overall, this is Tusk's answer to that 60-40 adventure tire, and really I would say 70-30 tire. Let's start by talking about the actual on-road performance. Now I'll put some chapters below so you can kind of skip ahead to what you're looking for. In reference to how they perform on-road, dry and wet, I'd have to say I'm very surprised. There's not a lot of movement in the corners, and it doesn't feel as aggressive as the tires are. So I'm mostly a dirt rider. I try to ride as little pavement and tarmac as possible, but I was extremely comfortable. I was talking to Jake that I met, not from State Farm, that I met up in the NEBDR, and he was riding them on his, I think, Honda 450, and had mentioned the same thing. He threw them on, only had them on for 2 days, hitting some really good gravel, and I met him up at a viewing point in Maine, New Hampshire. These things run together, you have to bear with me. He had mentioned that he was extremely surprised as well how good they feel on the pavement. So I haven't had any issues at all. Now, if you follow my channel at all, you know that I love riding in rain. It just seems to be what happens. I can't get around it. I'm a rain magnet. I haven't had really any issues. Now I'm 8,500 miles into the rear tire. The fronts have 4,000 miles on. I have changed them once. But again, even through the wear patterns, the on-street performance from what I was expecting greatly outperformed what I was ready for. So if you're worried about that pucker power, squeezing the cheeks in the corners, I would not worry about it too much. It really does feel better than you're going to expect on the pavement itself. I have them mounted on my Royal Enfield Himalayan. It's a 2022 model. At the time of purchase, front tire was about $70, back tire was about $90, depending on your make and model. I mean, that may vary, but an outstanding value for adventure tires. In reference to mounting the D Sports, now I had them put on at a service shop, and I've been lucky enough that I have not had to service them out in the field. Talking to other adventure riders and the service shop, they're a more firm tire, might take a little bit more to service in the field, but the people that I have talked to that have repaired patch, replaced anything like that, say they're pretty straightforward to work with. They're not really firm enough to give you too much of a battle. The other question you're probably asking if you have used aggressive DOT tires before. On the street, how is that unbelievably frustrating hum? Now, I don't wear earplugs. The Himalayan is not the loudest bike as far as exhaust. In reference to noise, I would say it's quieter than I thought. It's really not too bad. The first few days when I was on pavement, it really got me, and I kind of got used to it from there. So the noise is going to be something. You're going to have to get used to it, but it doesn't have the really loud, aggressive hum have some. I have used some Pirelli Scorpions that were a little more aggressive. Just in a reference, nothing against Pirelli. I do enjoy their tires. And it's quieter. This is more of aggressive of a tread pattern and less noisy than they were. So the noise is there. You're going to have to put up with it. You got a couple options. You can be more aggressive on the road, so when you go off-road, you're ready, or less aggressive off-road and get in a little bit of trouble there and be a little better on the highway. I'm always going to choose a more aggressive tire to get me set for when I do what I enjoy, which is riding off-road in the muck and fuss, as I like to say. As I alluded to earlier, the big point is for a budget tire, how does it handle on wet pavement? I just want to touch that one more time. I had no issues whatsoever. If you've used these tires, certainly comment below. But even on wet pavement, I was fine. I'm somewhat of an aggressive rider, but I ride a Himalayan. I mean, this isn't an African Twin. I don't rip down the tarmac. But at highway speeds and hitting the speed limits on very wet roads, no issues at all. I just kind of want to drive that home because that's one of the biggest surprises I think I've had on them. All right, now for me, the most important thing is off-road performance. How do they perform? What do they feel like? What was the experience like? This is kind of their bread and butter. These are, I'm going to say for the 15th time, aggressive tires. The most aggressive I've had on my Himalayan. Traditionally, most of my riding is off-road riding. That's where I enjoy to spend my time. I only ride tarmac to get me to the next pavement. That's their bread and butter. It was fantastic. I have a lot of sand here in South Carolina. I ride what's called the foothills, the scar, the sand hills. I've experienced a little bit of sand outside of South Carolina as well. Found more in the Black Hills than I thought, but sand riding, the aggressive knobs grip and throw the sand great. Through mud, which Vermont and the NEBDR gets very muddy. The Black Hills get very muddy. They do fantastic. They grip the mud, they get you through, and they clear the mud nicely. Gravel, I would say the same. I mean, I haven't really found a weak point with really thick gravel. I ran into a few that are 6 to 8 inches deep. The front wants to track some. So, you really just have to be loose and go. But I haven't had anything unexpected, and I would say everything off-road with these has, for me, my riding skills has been absolutely fantastic. Nothing that I really know. No cons for off-road, mostly positive there. So I've just returned from the NEBDR, and the one thing I've got to find out in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, which are very aggressive rocks. Vermont most, I mean, it was just rocks, baby heads, grapefruits, and they seemed like everything was sharp. So I'll say, as far as resilience to puncture, holding up, not also when it comes to like rocks, baby heads, grapefruits, the larger rock and sharper rock crawls, mostly really finding out in Vermont on the NEBDR. I was very happy how they did. There was 2 or 3 roads that were some of the rocky, roughest that I've run into in this area, like on, I think it's the Smoky Mountain 500, Old Bucktown Road is famous. These made Old Bucktown seem like a smooth road. And it held up fine. I was hitting sharp rock after sharp rock, just beating the living heck out of them, hoping not to get a flat. They did fantastic. So no issues there either. Now that was at the end. I mean, that's 7,500 miles into it, but it handled the wear and tear of the rocks quite well as also. All right, so the payoff, the information everybody's waiting for. How did they wear? How the overall performance, pros and cons, and would I buy them again? The first thing I kind of want to dip into, because of the routes I did, like I said, 8,500 miles on the rear, 4,000 on the front. There's a little bit of knob wear in the middle of the front there. So I didn't find much for cupping. Looks like I could definitely get some more miles out of the front. It would have to be local miles. I'm not going to do another adventure on these. The rear tire at 8,500 plus is absolutely doing well. I could ride that for another 500 to 1,000 possibly. I wouldn't take it on a big trip, but there's definitely some local miles left on these. There's a few like this right here, just kind of a little bit of crack or something. So I do want to monitor that. These are tubed tires. One thing I want to point out, because I did the NEBDR, it was a 15-hour ride to get to the start of that track, all highway and interstate. Excuse me, that was 11.5 hours, all highway and interstate. That's actual windshield time. And on the way back, 15.5 hours. Brutal drive. So that was 15 there and 18 back of full time. But that's way more highway miles than I traditionally put into my tires. And they have still done good. That is Minnesota math, 26.5 hours of highway miles, and they still look this good. So I just want to put that out there. These are 70-30 tires, and that's usually how I ride. Because of the trips that I did, I mean, I rode them like a 50-50 tire, half on pavement and half off pavement, just because of the back and forth. So I think they're an outstanding value. The wear, the way they broke down, they've handled it fantastic. I haven't seen really any large cupping, any separation, any issues. As far as value, I think it's outstanding. Pros and cons, really, as you break it down, in extremely cold weather, which I've ran into, I think, twice now, special stuff in the Black Hills of South Dakota. The pavement didn't quite grip as well, but I didn't see anything, that would make me change my mind. Trying to think of any other real con, and I can't. I mean, these, I'm really surprised for the value. I think Tusk has possibly come up with the best valued tire there is. Overall, I mean, it's just positive. I met 3 other riders out on these tracks that ride them. They all love them. I definitely will purchase them again. I'm actually right now, shortly after this video, going to order a new set, so I have something brand new for my next adventure. So the easy answer is yes. Would I buy them again? Yes. Did I have any issues with them? No, not overall. My second front tire, so I've got about 4,200 miles out of each front tire. A little more tarmac, as I mentioned, than I would like. I thought they tracked well. I wish the front tire would wear a little better, but I get it. The rear tire has outperformed everything I thought. Longevity, grippiness, just get me out of some really serious mud issues in the Black Hills and a little bit in Vermont. So everything's positive, guys. I truly think that Tusk has knocked it out of the park on these tires. So I would continue to buy them for now. I'm always looking at comments and thoughts. If you have a favorite aggressive tire, now I do want to stay aggressive because I'd rather be too aggressive on the road and have the proper tire for off-road. But if you have tires you think I should try, that you want to recommend, certainly let me know below. I've kind of made it through the gamut so far in the last couple of years, and it just simply comes down to the value is unbeatable. You can rip these things up, abuse them, and the new pair is inexpensive. So I'm going to have a good reason right now for my next few adventures to move off this. But there's my review. 8,500 miles plus of the D Sport Tusk tires. I appreciate you guys being here. Questions, comments. If you disagree with me, I'd love to hear your experience. This is my experience on my bike. What have you experienced? Do you like the tires? Do you dislike the tires? Anything like that, I'd love to hear from you. Have a fantastic night. Find time to live your adventures. What do you enjoy doing? Get out there and live your adventure, and we'll see you on the next video. Have a good night.